The Sports Source is brought to you by Fast Frame, with exciting Vol sports prints now available.
This is The Sports Source, presented by Bill Hotz and Associates, and by Renewal by Andersen, with your host, John Pennington.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into The Sports Source, presented by Renewal by Andersen. Folks, this is our 699th show. 2 years ago, you might remember, we did show 600, had a big celebration. Next week is 700. No big celebration for that. We'll have one in August for our 15th anniversary. But today, show number 699. So you want to watch, because sooner or later we're going to get one of these right. It could be today. We're talking a lot of Vols football today, a lot of Butch Jones stuff that was out there, reaction to some SEC Media Day stuff. Should be interesting for you. Let's just dive right into the show right now. First segment brought to you by Renewal by Andersen. And guess what? The long-range forecast calls for 89 degrees and up from now through July 29th. So the next 2 weeks, we're not going to dip below 89 for a high. That means your utility bills could go through the roof if you have old, inefficient windows. It could actually go through the windows, I guess is what we're saying. But here's the thing. Now through the end of July, get new energy-efficient windows from Renewal by Andersen. You do it before the end of July, free installation. Totally free installation. They're located out in Bearden. You want to check them out. Renewal by Andersen. Trust me, they are the best windows in the world. You see Mike Keith talking about them throughout the show in those spots. And I know Mike, and I've talked to Mike. Mike has them in his home. He loves them. Renewal by Andersen. All right. Want to welcome in the panelists for the day. We have Josh Ward, the Mikes, Griffith, and Strange. And then Chuck Cavaleris is down there. Good to have all you guys with us today. Let's start with Butch Jones. I knew last week he's going to go to media days. He'll say something that, if it's outlandish or off the wall or not, something he'll say will be taken as being outlandish and odd. And there was one. People were sitting there waiting for it. He made a comment. He was asked, considering the last season and the fact that you guys were a top 10 team and only finished 9-4, 22nd overall, do you view last season as a disappointment? And here's what he had to say. I don't view it as a disappointment. The way I view it is we didn't accomplish everything we set ourselves out to. And again, our goal every year is to win a championship and to compete to win a championship. So was it a disappointment? No. Did we not accomplish some of the things we set out to do? Absolutely. Okay. Here's the thing. A lot of people responded to that and said, there we go, same old Butch Jones. He won't admit how he feels. Then other people said it was his best media day's performance, which is kind of silly in itself. But
that tells you where things are now.
Yeah. Exactly. That tells you exactly where things are. Your thoughts on this statement, and what did you think when you first saw it or heard it? Josh, I'll start with you.
Well, yeah, I also thought that maybe it was his best media day's performance, at least with attention being on him at a higher level, not first year when there were no expectations. But when you have that and then a player contradict what is said, it's around and around we go, I think, with Butch Jones. I do think that he handled some of the criticism better this year at SEC Media Days than he has in the past. And there has been more owning it, I'd say, recently than at the end of last season. But the description that John just read is that of a disappointing season, not accomplishing what you wanted to. It would probably be better to say, we did a lot of good things, but we didn't do ultimately what we wanted to. That's disappointing, but I'm still proud of our players for everything that we did.
Yeah, I agree. He could have explained. By the way, Josh was referring to Kendall Vickers, in case you haven't heard. He was asked in a different setting, was last year a disappointment? He said it was. So that immediately went on Twitter and every website. It's like, aha, a disagreement between coach and player. They viewed the season differently. I don't think they did view it differently. I just think Butch Jones won't admit it, that he views it as a disappointment. Mike Griffith, your thoughts on it?
Yeah. Tough question. I don't think there was a right way to answer it, John. I think Josh just spelled it out pretty well. Butch could have qualified it, but the moment he starts to qualify it, Butch Jones is making excuses for Tennessee. If Butch Jones says he's disappointed, Butch Jones disappointed with last season. And all those seniors like Derek Barnett and like Josh Dobbs that he championed and said were great players that left it on the field, like Kendall Vickers and Brett Kendrick, two guys that played the end of last year needing surgery. The coach is not going to say that's disappointing when he knows what they've left on the field. But, John, he didn't spell all that out for the media because he knows what the media would have done.
I don't think they would have. I don't think you could have twisted that, though. I think that would have been a better answer if he had simply explained, look, We didn't hit our goals. That part is disappointing. But I'm not going to say I'm disappointed in a team that kept fighting all year long. Injuries like we've never seen all across the board. We fight back. We win a bowl game for the third straight year. Hard for me to say that's disappointing. Okay, that's a different answer than, well, we didn't hit our goals, but I'm disappointed. I'm not disappointed. Okay, that's a little odd. Your guys' thought down there at the end of the table.
Chuck?
Well, I'm disappointed. Butch Jones says it wasn't a disappointment because the disappointment is who you lost to. The disappointment is that you lost to South Carolina, and then at the end you lost to Vanderbilt when you had so much to gain. Of course it's a bigger it's a disappointment. Just say that. Just say, yeah, I mean, of course we wanted to. But remember, didn't they say winning the East was not a goal? Didn't he say that at one time, right after the Champions of Life? I kind of have a problem with that, you know?
Okay. Mike Strange.
In an ideal world, he would have had the questions in advance, and, and somebody could have helped him prepare an answer that would say, it's always just disappointing when you don't win the SEC East or the SEC Championship because that's our goal. I didn't have a big problem with it, though. I thought the way if you take out the word, the disappointment sentence, if you take the rest of it, I thought it was fine.
I had someone who did radio on Friday. I did a little bit with the new Sentinel show on 1180, and was asked about Barry Odom, I guess, the Missouri coach, which was talking about their season last year was a disappointment. He admitted it. They went 4-8. How could you not admit that? So I don't know that that's a, there are a lot of people say, well, other coaches say this. Well, in terms of guys going 9-4, and we talked about this week. Also, I'll let you follow up. I mean, how many guys across the nation that media days are coming in off a 9-4 season and the media is going, first question, I'm disappointed where you last year.
Well, and how much of media days is supposed to be about last year, John? It's supposed to be about this season and asking a question.
You know that.
But how many coaches got asked about last season when they were at media days? Okay, Nick Saban said it was a failure. Well, you know what? When you have the #1 recruiting class in the country 6 years in a row, I said, how many?
He's at a different place, though. He can say that. He can say things other coaches can't
But
say.
Butch Jones can't say 9-4 is a good season at Tennessee. He cannot say that. He'd get barbecued.
Okay, thoughts?
Well, I think there's also, in the media, I'm not supposed to suggest this probably, but there's a way to answer the question without answering the question. He could have said, not winning, as Mike mentioned earlier, not winning the East anytime we don't win it, that's a disappointment. But also say, we broke the losing streak against Florida. We won in front of the largest crowd ever at Bristol. We had the win against Georgia, and not answer the question about the season itself. You can answer it without answering.
The problem is people are now ripping him for that. They don't. Paul Feinbaum, and we'll talk about Mr. Feinbaum, who you do radio with quite a bit. You're on his TV show during the SEC Media Days. We'll talk about Mr. Feinbaum because he came out and said nobody cares when you run through that list of things you've done.
But that's like when
that gets back to he can't win.
But John, that's just like when you say injuries are not an excuse, and then you start rattling off all the injuries. I mean, Butch Jones did that too, and I understand why you do that. Most coaches do that. But I mean, there's a way. Like Josh says, there's a way to handle it without, actually answering that. And admit it. If it is a disappointment, you've been building to this for 4 years.
I'll say it again. My tip to him, the people over there, the powers that be are listening. There's a group that's going to shoot holes in you regardless. Don't give them the bullets. Just yes, no answers. Yes, no answers. 5 minute. I'm not going to sit there and give a 40-minute press conference anymore. If I'm going to keep saying something until finally you guys out there are going, aha, got him. I'm just going to give you short answers and I'm leaving the room, and that's that. If you don't like it, Jim Harbaugh's doing it, and everybody said, well, Harbaugh's a great coach. He was in the pros. So far, he hadn't even won a division in the college ranks, so he's getting away with it. You can win with it big. There are jerks out there who just don't say anything. Sometimes it helps you, sometimes it hurts you, but it seems to me that whatever Butch Jones does, it's going to hurt him, so I wouldn't be giving you any more weapons. I would just be yesing and knowing. But that's me. All right. When we come back, though, how could he help himself? We have we probably have a little difference of opinion here that kind of takes off what I just said. We'll dive into that. Also, and a Sports Illustrated writer says that there's one key that Butch is missing in terms of getting folks behind it. We'll discuss it. We got a lot of football stuff to come on. Come on back on the Sports Source.